Welcome to Scene Change, a podcast by the National Federation of the Blind Performing Arts Division. All about equality, opportunity, accessibility, and the arts. Here, you'll learn adaptive techniques from performers in the know. We are changing what it means to be blind, one stage at a time. Thank you for joining us today. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Scene Change. I'm Lizzie Muhammad Park, your host of the show, and today's episode will be nothing short of iconic. Let's play a little game of Guess Who. It's been exactly 5 years since we've hosted this guest. She is a singer, songwriter, advocate, now Grammy nominee, and author. That's right. From the heel to the purse to the cane to the skirt, everybody, it's Lachi. Welcome back to the show.
What an intro. I love that. I am obsessed with that. I'm stealing that, by the way.
Please do. Please do. Let's chat in kind of like a reverse chronological order. I want to start with the book.
Okay, doke.
I identify as blind. Now, you talk about identity, obviously, it's right there in the title, but you also define several words. We've got blindish, we've got sight passing, we've got blind. Like there's all these different words. So I want to play a little fill in the blank game just to kind of, for anyone who hasn't heard the audiobook, for anyone, it's also on Bookshare, everybody, if you prefer to do a little speed read, but the audiobook recording is so much fun. I highly recommend it. It is on Spotify. So if you have Spotify, it's right there for you. But let's play this game because each of these words have affected your career in a different way.
Yes.
A girl walks in to an industry event and she is blindish. What does she do when she walks in? What's her experience?
You know, for the most part, anyone that I know that considers themselves blindish, which I've been running around and using the term, and folks are like, that's me.
Mm-hmm.
I've been looking for a term for that. Generally, they do everything they can to pretend that they have full vision, right? So there's somebody who is either legally blind, registered blind, leaning blind, but have some just enough sight to pretend that they can see. And generally they exist in a space where, you know, they could, if they admitted or said out loud that they were blind, some folks may accuse them of faking, when in actuality, they're actually faking that they can see. That's what their experience is. And so generally, in my experience, when I would walk into a lot of these industry showcases or these dark galas and whatnot, I would kind of hang on the walls and be sort of a shy butterfly and often just leave the event, because how far can you really get when you can't see and you're pretending to in a dark space?
Now, a blind girl enters an industry event. And what happens?
If you walk in your full, what I call blind regalia, okay, you out here, you ready? You know, you have stepped into your blindness. You know, one of the things that I walk in with are my glam canes. So I walk in glam cane first, okay? And basically what I'm saying to the world is, I am blind. I know that I'm blind. You see that I'm blind, but also I recognize that I belong here as well. And this is a thing, and we all see the thing. So let's move on. Right. So when I walk into a room in my blind regalia, it's basically me saying, I'm not afraid to ask for the accommodation I need. I am not afraid to sit in this part of my identity. This is not a thing that is going to be awkward between us. And that generally allows people to just get past that awkwardness and move on to the next stage, or whether it is to ask about it, at least they're not afraid to. And so that is where I'm trying to get people to go, especially if you identify as blindish, let's step
Yeah.
all the way into our blind identity.
Yeah. Now, what's the difference between blindish and sight passing? Are they the same thing?
Sighted, you can be blindish and, not pretend it, right? So
Mm.
sighted passing is when you do everything you can to appear to be sighted so that you don't have to deal with the stigma. Whereas blindish is more of it's definitely not a technical term, but it's more of a technical term where it just essentially means you are either low vision, legally blind, register blind, partial in some way. And
Mm.
then sighted passing is when you go that step further to blend in with the sighties.
Oh my goodness. Boom. See, but there, because like, I'm like, there almost appeared to be a blurred line between sightish and sighted passing, but then I'm like, no, they're different. You know what I mean?
They are
And they
different.
they are. So I'm glad you explained that. I'm glad you clarified that.
Mhm.
Um, I personally love these terms. They do need to be technical terms. And you've coined them, so it's right there in the book. Nobody can take that from you.
Let's go ahead and petition those with Merriam-Webster. You and me, let's
Think
do it.
so. I think so. Now, beyond just defining, and then there, by the way, there for the audience, there are so many additional terms throughout this
Mhm.
book that I will gladly be throwing around.
Mm.
And I'm not going to spoil them all here because it's just a little teaser is one thing, but I can't give you the whole book. That's just you have
Nah,
to
go
go and
ahead.
read
Go
it.
read it.
It's
Y'all
it's
go read
worth
it,
it.
y'all.
It's worth it. But you do in my what I call thought experiments. You do several thought experiments throughout the book. One of them being the way you look at the prefix dis in
Hmm.
disability. And you're like,
Hmm.
it goes so much farther. It doesn't have to be a negative thing.
Hmm.
You're like there are all these other words that start with the word. What about a discount? Everybody loves a discount. I'm like, yeah, actually, like, you're like, there are
Right.
so many, and they're empowering words. There are just so many
Hmm.
other words. So why does disability have to be a bad thing? So
Hmm.
you also reimagine the accessibility symbol, um, the stick figure in the wheelchair. Do you know what I
Hmm.
mean? So on and
Hmm.
so on and so forth. You have many. Like I said, I'm not going to give it all away. But my question for you, and do feel free to explain the wheelchair symbol for anyone who may not have reference to it. But I just want to know, what has the response been to your ideas and your thought experiments?
Hmm. Sure.
Or yeah. What have people
Yeah.
been kind of saying to you? Mm-hmm.
Well, let's set the tone. First and foremost,
Mm-hmm.
I am an entertainer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a singer and a dancer. I go on tour. I've worked with some really cool artists and some household names. I've done some stuff with labels. That's where my clout lies. Like, I'm a musician. I am an artiste, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'm a rapper. Sometimes I'm out here trying to rap. That's when I feel very cocky. Okay. I say that because I don't necessarily define myself as an activist in any way, shape
Mm-hmm.
of the word at all. There's some people doing really great work out here, and
Mm-hmm.
I am not in their lane. They are doing
Mm.
some very deep, groundbreaking work. I'm an entertainer. I love to have fun. This book is, majority really corny dad jokes, just strung together, right? With some lessons in between. So I do want to preface it with that. And so I say all that with the grain of salt of, the response. I make that very clear in the book.
You do.
And so the response has not been like, how dare you say this? How dare you say that? You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not
Right.
trying to
Right.
say, quote, this or quote that. I'm
Right.
just talking about my experience and I'm out here having a good time. So the response has been generally very much a recognition of like, wow, this is a really unique experience that we don't see coming out of the disability community in like written book form. You know,
Mm-hmm.
generally we'll see something relatively academic, or we'll see something that's very disability 101, or,
Mm-hmm.
we'll see, et cetera, et cetera. But this book has been a discussion of my own experience, a discussion of the experiences of people with other disabilities. It's funny you mentioned the disability symbol, which is essentially a white male stick figure in a wheelchair over a blue
Right.
background, which I'm like, one of the reasons that I incorporate so many other stories, so many other histories, so many other disabilities, so many other voices. So I have a
Mm-hmm.
ton of interviews in there, is because that symbol of disability is the thing about it does not include most people with disabilities. Most people with disabilities are not wheelchair users. Most people with disabilities are not white males who are obviously thin because he's a stick figure. Pretty sure he's from middle America, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty sure he's straight. Haven't asked him. But it's like most that symbol does not encompass most of disability. And so it's kind of why I wanted to incorporate most of disability, which even with the book I wrote, with all that we've done, we did over 40 interviews. We had so many people and perspectives in the book. I still don't touch like the surface of most of disability.
Wow.
Mhm.
It's hard to, it's
Yeah.
like you said, it's, and you say it in the book too, the intersections, you know what I mean? And
Hmm.
it's,
Hmm.
you're trying to get a lot of different people, and it's one of those things. So it's safe to say that you're not gonna I was kind of looking forward to I started to reimagine all the ways in which the wheelchair symbol could be reimagined. I was gonna ask you, I was like, oh, so are you gonna push for that? I said, I guess not.
I
Okay,
know,
maybe
right?
maybe an
I'm
album
looking
logo,
at it.
something.
Let me look into it. Let me look into it.
Okay, this is my last question about the book, and then we're gonna keep going back in time.
Okay.
So there are parts of the book where it seems now, and also correct me if I'm wrong here, because this is actually a part that I didn't fully follow myself 100%. So there are parts of the
Okay.
book where there are parts of the book where it's almost like um, the idea that like everyone has a disability, but then
Yes.
you do make it very clear, and you do caution against the danger of people pretending to have
Mhm.
a disability.
Mhm.
So I was just curious, and I know you're not like a, you don't. This is not, you're not like a psychologist or something, but I'm just curious because the book is your opinion and this is your opinion too. Where is the line? How do you suggest that kind of people find their line between being open to having a disability, but also not pretending? You know what I mean? To have one, especially, um, and you mentioned this in the book too about, social media and people doing things for
Right.
clout,
Malingering.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, yep.
It's so funny. So we went on this amazing book tour after we brought the book out, and I think we hit about 10 cities. And that was the question of the hour. So it was a lot of it was asked in different ways, and I think from different perspectives. So from the quote non-disabled, and I say it in quotes because I think
Hmm.
everybody's disabled, perspective, it's like, well, how can I be an ally? Right, was kind of the big question.
Hmm.
And then from the disabled perspective, the question was a lot more like how, if everyone's disabled, then it's not special. And I'm like, well, listen, I don't even like the word special. Okay. Calm down. But really, my answer is this. The reason I say that everyone has some form of disability, neurodivergence, you're somewhere on this spectrum, because the world wasn't built perfectly for anyone, for
Hmm.
any particular sort of, Lego build of body, mind, and way we communicate or process things, right? Everybody has to overcompensate in some way, or everyone actually has access needs that are not being met, right?
Right.
Whether it's because you have seasonal depression, right? Whether it is because you have a temporary disability, whether it's because you have like severe light sensitivity,
Hmm.
tinnitus, different mental health conditions and chronic conditions that folks just write off because they're
Right.
like, I'm fine, right?
Right.
And no, I'm fine is an equivalent to being sighted passing, right?
Mm.
And so this is the point I'm trying to make when folks say, hey, how do I be an ally to disability? I say, figure out where you fit on the disability spectrum, because there's no such thing as an ally. There's just two people that have disability empathy,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
And so this is why I say that. And then when we talk about malingering, first
Hmm.
and foremost, if you're out here pretending you have a disability that you don't have, then you have a disability that you don't know about. Then you have some kind of something going on, girl. Like, let's get you figured out. And then the other thing too is, you know, at the end of the day, people play into things or they lean in a certain way in order for acceptance, right? In order for understanding, in order for this and that. So let's sit you down and discuss what are the socioeconomic issues or psychosocial, that's the word I'm going for. What are the psychosocial issues that are causing you to do that? Let's dig a little deeper. At the end of the day, I think the larger discussion here is that the disability umbrella is so over encompassing and everybody has different access needs. So what are your access needs? Now, the last thing I'm going to say to the folks on the, disabled side who say, well, if we start saying everybody has disabilities, then our disabilities will no longer be seen as a thing. Well, actually, what I'm trying to say here is that everyone has needs. Everyone has access needs. And the reason why a lot of access needs aren't being met is because people aren't taking access needs seriously. So what we really need to be mainstreaming is access needs, because the minute somebody who considers themselves non-disabled starts caring about their own access needs, then they will begin to recognize access needs in general, which would include your access needs. So
That part did come through.
it's like a difficult thing to really explain until you dig in. But I tried to do it with dad jokes and rap bars. Let's see it.
Yes, yes. And that was the thing that I was saying when I was talking about the book with someone else. I was like, this part is very clear. The point, I was like, I understand why you were making the point that, everyone, like you said, has access needs, because it's exactly what you just said. Once you have them yourself, then you're like, oh, I don't mind. You can relate to other people. You know what I mean? I don't mind assisting someone here. I don't mind. You know what I mean? It made that part totally was clear. Okay, but I'm glad that you cleared up the rest of it. So this way, as
Yes.
I'm talking about it with people, I'm like, oh, okay. Well, listen, I heard it from Lachi, and if you would listen to episode,
Right,
53, you'll hear
right.
it too.
Lachi said it. Lachi said
That's
it.
right.
But
That's
listen, you
right.
guys, go check out that audiobook. We
Really though.
recently won a what do you call it? An earphones award.
Oh.
Okay, which is like a prestigious sort of audiobook award given by
Oh.
Audio Magazine. So we're really
Ooh,
excited.
congratulations. I didn't
Yes,
know
and we got
about
on
that.
some top selling lists on like Libro. So we're really excited.
Ooh,
And, the book is great. I mean, the book
it
is
is.
good, but
It
the
is.
audiobook, bruh.
Real quick. I need to dive into this just real quick. We've had an episode on this before, but I want to get your perspective.
Sure.
And this part we didn't cover. We just talked about reading audiobooks out loud, and recording them. Reading your own audiobook.
Yeah. Yeah.
Reading your own audiobook.
Yeah.
What
That
was
was
that
fun.
process like? Were
Yeah.
you harder on yourself? Like, you know what, I wrote it this
Sure.
way. I didn't just, were you tougher? Yeah. Tell me just a little bit about that
Yeah.
process. Yeah.
Well, okay. So, well, first of all, I had to audition because,
Oh,
this is Penguin Random House. So I had to
you
audition
had
for
to
my own
audition for your
audiobook.
own?
So that happened. And then so they gave me this really amazing director and production team and all of that. And I was going to home record because, I have my own studio set up here.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sitting and, normally I just do music and
Mm-hmm.
rapping. So I know what my voice sounds like. But I get up there and I got the director in my ear and she's going, do this, do that. So I'm reading it and I'm like, ugh. When we're listening back, I'm like, ugh, like, no. Right.
Mm-hmm.
To
Mm-hmm.
the point where we had gone for like 2 days. We had already done several chapters. And I was already like, nah, who else auditioned? Like, let's get, who are
Oh
they? Like, get them in
no.
here. So then while I'm having like this crisis breakdown of like, okay, I'm not going to do my audiobook, I go to my living room and I'm sitting on my couch and I'm drinking wine and I
Mm-hmm.
just start reading the book. And,
Mm-hmm.
when I was sitting up in the studio, it sounded tinny. It sounded like a
Yeah.
statue. It just sounded very, you know what I'm saying, manufactured in some way. So I'm doing it.
Mm.
I'm reading it on the couch and I'm loving it. I'm like, okay, I'm doing all little voices, right?
Right, right, right.
And then I have this like we have this epiphany and we're like, let's just bring the whole studio to the living room and you just do it on your couch with a glass of wine. And so that's essentially what y'all are listening
Ooh.
to.
Oh, I love this.
So
This
that's
is
and
good.
it was harrowing. I mean, it's a lot.
Yeah.
Like it is 12, I don't know, 10 to 12 hours of just reading,
Yeah.
rereading, et cetera, et cetera. And then like the editing process. But I'm really glad that I ended up doing it. And, you know, we sprinkled a lot of our music in there. So you
Yes.
really, really get Lachi. Like you get the
Wow.
Lachi. And it's so funny. Now, you and I have already met before, we've spoken before,
Right.
but we've done tons and tons of podcasts and it'll be people who listen to the audiobook and I'll come in and I'll be like, oh, hey, what's up? Let's get started. And they're like, you sound exactly like the audiobook. Like you just talking to you the audiobook. And I'm like, the audiobook is me,
Like,
bruh.
yeah, exactly. Like, who else did you expect? But anyway.
Yeah.
So how long did it take to record it?
So the problem was we had a lot of dates and like performances we had to be doing, and we were traveling
Right.
and everything too. So
Right.
it took about 2 weeks, I think, because some days we had to not do it. Two
That's
to three
really
weeks.
good. No, you were like, we had a lot of stuff to do in between. I was like, oh, she's gonna say like a couple months. You said 2 weeks. See, but that's
Oh,
that's
girl, you don't know
I
Lachi. Everything
expect
just gets
nothing.
done
No,
right
I
now.
was gonna say I expect nothing less. So you were like, we had a lot to do. We were running around, touring. I was like, oh wow, maybe like 2 months, 2 weeks. I was like, I should have known.
You should have known, girl. Well, and to write a book in general takes forever, and
It
it took
does.
us. We did it in under a year,
Wow.
and we were filming. We were like running around the whole country filming for Renegades. So we
Wow.
actually wrote the book on planes, trains, and automobiles. It was just very get it done.
I
So
love
it was quite
it.
the experience.
I love it, love it, love it. Okay, let's talk about some of your travel. Specifically, I want to hear more about your international travel. You
Mhm.
did American Music Abroad a couple years ago. Gosh, went to Peru. You went to a
We've
couple
been
places.
we've been everywhere. I'll tell
Yeah,
you that.
yeah.
And the beautiful thing about so there's is bittersweet, especially when it comes
Mm,
to like accessibility and disability
right,
culture.
right.
So the beautiful side of it is that we get to the letter, like really honestly bring culture, like
Mm,
disability culture, the ability to even discuss disability beyond, you know, very level one needs is a very like Western thing. And it's very specifically American. I mean, at
right.
the end of the day, the Americans with Disabilities Act really was what spearheaded all the other acts across
Mm-hmm.
the world. Um, so we are like so far ahead when it comes to
Mm,
that. Um, but on the others, so that's the beautiful thing. We're actually really honestly bringing culture and bringing really new concepts to people.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, but on the same token, that's where the bitter comes, where it's like, God, it's so we can't even really have 101 conversations.
Yeah,
It's like a discussion of you're human in
yeah.
the first place. Like you are a
Right,
human being and you deserve human rights. You deserve to see yourself as a full human,
right.
right? Are the discussions that we can often be having. Like, let's say, for instance, there have been places where we go where, a lot of these, especially when you do things like American Music Abroad or you do like a
Mm-hmm.
cultural tour,
Mm-hmm.
they'll help, put together your audience and
Yeah.
bring folks with disabilities out. And in
Yeah.
so many places, you'll have folks who are blind and who are deaf and who are wheelchair users never have been in the same room together. Never
Yeah.
have seen, like deaf folks never seen blind folks. Blind
Mm,
folks never experienced, wheelchair users, right?
mhm.
And so now they're all together for the first time, you know, interacting. And it's just
Yeah.
so large. And now a and even in places who are a little more developing, a little more, et cetera, it is
Mhm.
very much a charity model discussion, right? The
Mhm.
model of like, oh, let's help the poor disabled folk. And
Mm.
so me coming in with my ideas of social model, my ideas of cultural model are like blowing the minds of even
Yep.
the organizers,
Yep.
right? It's
Yep.
like, dear organizers or dear parents,
Mm-hmm.
see the folks in the audience as your fellow man,
That's
not
right.
necessarily as you just being a do-gooder helping some like lesser version of human. Like,
Handling
this
them.
is, yeah, no,
Mm-hmm.
so this is
Mm-hmm.
another human being
Mm-hmm.
who you can
Exactly.
actually find value in and who can
Exactly.
actually help you with something. That's how
Exactly.
you need to start seeing folks. And so it was
Mm-hmm.
interesting to be blowing the minds of people globally.
Wow. Could you name some of the countries that you went to for the audience?
Mm.
I get your newsletters, so
Well, you read the newsletter. Well, I
I
will double down on Peru being my favorite.
was
And
it really?
another place that was a really, really beautiful place was St. Petersburg, Russia. Now
Oh
I know it's
wow.
like St. Petersburg, Russia, but I mean, at the end of the day, like St. Petersburg, Russia was where oh gosh, uh, the the war kind of
Mm,
culminated,
mhm,
right? And so to be there and to feel that tension, that intenseness, it was just probably one of the most visceral experiences of my life.
mm,
Um, so I'm Nigerian,
right.
obviously Nigeria. Um, being in Nigeria, there's, you know, a place like Nigeria is interesting because there's a lot of first worldness in
Mm,
Nigeria. And then there's also a lot of, developingness in Nigeria, and they're side by side. So to see the juxtaposition and the forward thinking of like curb cuts in one
yeah,
area,
yeah,
and then to also see just sort of the negligence of people for people with disabilities in another area is
mm,
interesting. But one of the reasons I love, visiting, obviously, the country of which my parents come from, is that I had the ability to go to so my parents own a mansion out there, and to be
mhm,
able to, and it's built on the soil where my parents and, my grandparents and great grandparents and great 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 grandparents all lived. So
mhm.
to be able to go somewhere and to like stand on the soil of the bones that like actually literally made me, um,
Wow.
it just, I remember kind of having like a little breakdown moment of,
Yeah,
deep ancestral wisdom.
of
Um,
course.
and then
Oh my
obviously there's like
goodness.
traveling to like the UK and Europe and all that, which is always great, just ooh, wine and chocolate.
Yeah,
Yay.
yeah, yeah, cheese.
So yeah, yeah.
Wow.
But
So
traveling
yeah.
is great too because as a blind woman,
Yes.
I travel with, a sighted companion.
Mhm,
Um, but I don't necessarily always have to.
mhm,
And so one of the interesting things that'll happen to me while I'm traveling is like someone will come up to me. Let's say I'll be standing beside someone, and
mhm.
an airport attendant will go up to the person that I'm standing next to and say, "Does she need help?" And then they'll be
Oh.
like, I don't know her. Like, I need help. Can you tell me how to get to the event?" And I'll just be on my merry old way, like, I'm good. So
Yes.
it is. I recognize it's a luxury to get to travel as a blind person, but I gotta say, a lot of my friends, they just out here traveling.
Oh,
So
for sure. For
yeah.
sure. That's
Mhm.
why I asked you this question because you're not just traveling though. You're
Mhm.
traveling, you're performing.
Mhm.
You really are, as you mentioned before, these are people who maybe a deaf person who's never met a blind person, vice
Mhm.
versa. Um, this is really going deeper than traveling. You know what I mean? This is not
Yes.
just like passing someone, on the street. These are people who are watching that like not only did she get over here, she got over here. She's, performing,
Mhm.
on stage.
Mhm.
Like there are
Right.
things that you are doing that people just didn't think that a blind person could do. So
Yeah.
were you able to connect with any people with disabilities while you were over there? I know you're a connector. That's why I'm asking.
Yes. And it's so funny you say that because first
Hmm.
and foremost, I mean, that's already just true for like 6 blocks down from where I live. Like,
Right.
you know what I'm
Right, right,
saying?
right,
Like,
right,
I could perform in downtown Brooklyn and like
right,
everyone's mind is blown. Like, how did she get
right.
here? You know what I mean? So like
You're
to
right
be
about
able
that.
to do that, right? To be
Yeah,
able to do
yeah.
that in a developing country, you know,
Mhm.
some of the questions we were getting, like,
Mm,
I told you that a lot of the questions I was getting on our tour was like, how could you say that everyone's disabled? Or, what about our
mhm.
access needs and this and that? But the questions I was getting out in these more sort of other countries
Right.
would be like, we see that in America, you have sign language on all your public announcements. How
Mm.
do we get that? I was like, whoa.
Mm.
you
Yeah,
know, I
yeah.
was not prepared for that. I thought they'd be like, you sing, like, tell us about your music journey. So but these were really great, like in-depth questions. And I definitely made a lot of fans and friends along the way. A lot of folks that I'm connected with on socials, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, because everybody's got a phone.
Uh-huh.
And, some folks are, they'll be like teachers or parents of kiddos and they want to stay in
Mhm.
touch. Because one of the big stories that I talk about is how when I was younger, I was super quiet, shy. I stimmed heavily. I,
Mm.
was definitely an undiagnosed some sort of something, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And so they would ask, like, well, how do I, what did your parents do to help you this and that? Or what did you do? Or what can I do for my kid? And so I stay in contact because a lot of the times my answer to parents is know someone who is an adult that has what your
Right.
kid has.
Right.
Right. So they're
Right.
like, well, you do. So can I know you? I'm like, let me practice what I preach. Um, but absolutely, like staying in touch with folks abroad and always table touching. And like again, even when I tour here,
Mm.
always making sure that I like try to table touch with a local organization or just people that I
Yeah.
know in that city, country, region, and then building on that relationship has probably been one of the funnest parts of touring. Just the humans, not just the performance, but the humans I get to meet along the way.
Yeah, for sure. I know. I was gonna say, I know you're very social, which I know I'm always shocked when I hear your stories about your younger years. 'Cause I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, just like
Right.
to go from quiet to like, bam, I'm here. But it makes a difference when,
Hmm.
you have those moments in life where you're just like, you know what? Like, no, I'm not gonna do what people tell me. I'm not going to stay in a
Yeah.
box. I'm not going to, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
I'm going to step
Hmm.
out. I'm going to be who I am. I'm going to
Yeah.
tell people to step aside. You know what I mean? Like, that's just,
Hey.
like that, it makes such a difference
Mhm.
in personalities. So when you first came to the show or, came on the show, you were just starting RMPD. And I
Mhm.
think we may have like just barely touched on it.
Mhm.
Um, and then after having other guests who are part of the organization, I was like, oh, I need to have Lachi back so that she can really share all about this organization. And we'd be here forever if I asked you every question I had about it. So I won't do that. But what I will ask you, what I will ask you to do is talk about the organization directly in relation to the Grammys. And you guys have really made strides in that space. So just sort of just some highlights from where you started and
Yeah.
what you're doing now.
Yeah. So the Recording Academy does the Grammys. Today I am a Grammys national trustee. Back when I started RAMPed, so RAMPD stands for Recording Artists and Music Professionals with Disabilities. And like I said earlier, I was just masking all that I could, right? Masking, 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 doing everything I could to appear sighted passing.
Mm.
And I think at one point after I started advocating for just my different needs in the studio, I realized as I just did better at my job, I was like, whoa, I can't be the only one masking out in these streets here in the music industry. And then I realized, like, wait, but I wouldn't be able to find anybody else who is because they are masking. So that was essentially how Ramped came to be. I wanted to find the other music professionals that were navigating the industry who had disability, neurodivergence, chronic condition, mental health conditions, and were out here doing what they got to do. So essentially, I wanted to form an affinity group. There were groups that were like queer in music, black in music, women in music. So what about musicians with varying disabilities? And that's how Ramped came to be. But it didn't really start until after I had this really amazing panel discussion with the Recording Academy. Uh, so I brought on a couple of other folks with disabilities to be a part of a panel that we had with the Grammys during COVID. So everybody was bored, so they all tuned in, apparently. And we spoke opposite the Grammys leadership. And we just talked about accessibility and disability. And that panel ended up blowing up and really gave, put a fire under the discussion. I started getting DMs and emails going, hey, we love what you guys are doing. I want to be a part of your organization. Or we love what you're doing. I want to be a part of your movement. At that time, I had no organization. I had no movement. I just had like a music career that was like, I was trying to figure out. Right. And so I was like, something, needs to happen, but I don't want to do it. I went to sleep. I had the acronym kind of popped in my head, RAMPD, and here we go. There it was. I was like, oh, this is too good an acronym. We about to, you know what I mean? So we started putting it together. The Recording Academy was super supportive. I gathered a bunch of folks from the disability music space, and we just started just organizing and, having meetings and stuff like that. And that was in 2021. And by the 2022 Grammys, the Recording Academy said, hey, would you like to be a kind of a consultation partner to make the Grammys more accessible? And because they did that, and of course we said yes, and we were just getting our feet on the ground, we got a ton of press. So Billboard covered us, New York Times covered us, Forbes covered us, everybody covered us. And then we just started getting more members. We started getting more partnership opportunities. We started getting money before we even had a bank account. And
wow.
So Ramped took its legs and flew off. So today, Ramped, we're the ones that get the sign language on the red carpet. We're the one, and we work very closely with the Recording Academy to do this. The sign language on the red carpet. This year, we were able to get a deaf journalist into the media center. So to be able to speak to the winners as they win, which was amazing.
Yeah.
We helped get a accessible dais. So if a wheelchair user were to win, they'd be able to get up on a stage and collect their trophy. We were able to get tons of folks from Ramped. We worked together to get them into the Recording Academy to become voting members and as well get board seats. And so we just, from deaf folks to, the ability to get them to understand that deaf folks like appreciate music in the first place. We do a ton of programming with them. And we're even going to be doing some programming in July. But I mean, again, we work with everyone from Tidal to Sony Music to, gosh, you name it. I know I'm missing. So Spotify, where you listened to my audiobook, Amazon, etc. So we work with so many different places to not just get members involved, but also to consult. We do consulting, we do trainings, we do, think tanks, we do, every strategy, et cetera, et cetera. But I think one of the big things that allows for our impact work is we have a peer vetted global network. So, at Ramped, we have this peer vetted global network of music creators and industry professionals who identify anywhere in the music spectrum, anywhere in the disability spectrum. And we are able to get them opportunities, whether it's creative opportunities, career development opportunities. Like it's just been, I don't know, the impact work of a lifetime for me. And
actually, though,
but for real,
that's
though.
amazing. That's amazing. Like, just and all this in literally, we're looking at what officially 4 years of RAMPD. Like
Yes,
all that work in
we're
just
a
4
4-year-old.
years. That's
We're a 4-year-old.
crazy. That's
Yeah,
awesome. Yeah.
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 It's
Okay.
been marvelous.
My goodness. And then, okay, I'm gonna switch gears ever so slightly. And obviously, we've just talked about the amazing work that you do in the daytime. I believe in this little motto called "Work hard, play hard," and so you guys are at the Grammys during the day. You're working hard. You're building careers. You're making connections, and then at night. Are you invited to the parties? Do you get to mingle with different people? You know what I mean? Like, because there's always
Yeah.
a fun side to it too, you know?
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, anybody who knows me knows I am a fashionista.
Yes, you
So
are.
why get dressed up if you ain't got nowhere to go? Okay. So, yeah, I mean, I love to go out to shows, go out to the parties, go out to the galas, show up with my heels, my cane, my little outfits. Arthur does my makeup. I mean, so yeah, I mean, and I gotta say too, I never get it never gets old. I never get used to it. I'm never like,
Mm.
oh, another one of these. I'm always just, I'm always a kid in a candy store. You know, we've had the opportunity to meet some of the most amazing human beings, like, everyone from Jean Baptiste
Mhm.
to, Justin Timberlake to,
Mhm.
this person and that person, Missy Elliott, who
Billie
you name
Eilish,
it.
Stevie Wonder,
Billie Eilish.
SZA.
Oh yeah, my boy Stevie. You know what I'm saying? All these folks, SZA, saying, giving me props on my music. So it's just, it's beautiful to be able to be that touch point because I know, when a lot of these folks out, like a lot of these celebrities, right, when
Yeah.
they think of disability, they think of it in a certain light, right? Again, the charity model light. And it's
Mhm.
why I'm such a proponent of disability culture because, hip hop has, really shown people what Black culture is.
Yeah.
Country music has shown people what rural culture is.
Mhm.
And so I'm here to use music is such a vehicle for culture. And I'm here to use the pop culture power of music to introduce disability culture and
Yeah.
the power that it is. And so to be able to be that touch point, that first window into disability culture for a lot of these celebrities
Yeah.
is quite the honor because instead of them seeing the Sarah McLachlan, like Eyes of an Angel type
Mhm.
BS that they believe disability is, and then they see me,
Right.
then I get to say that to them, I am actually not the exception. I'm actually the norm of disability,
Mm.
right? When
Mhm.
you see those Sarah McLachlan-esque, sad, over
Yeah.
the top folks, that's actually the exception. And
Yeah.
really what disability is just people out here trying to get their access needs met.
For sure. For
That's what
sure.
disability looks like.
Exactly.
And what is exceptional about me is that I am open about it. That's the
Yeah.
only exceptional thing. And I'm just trying to get more people to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. You do it very well.
Thank
Okay.
you.
I have to let you go soon. So let's wrap it up on a happy note.
Mhm.
Um, And we're coming back to the present. We're talking about your latest single. I've referenced it a couple of times already. It's called "Step Aside." For anyone who hasn't heard it, you'll hear a little tiny clip at the end of this episode, but you just have to go to stream it and listen to it, and it's a
Run
really
it up,
fun
run it up,
bop.
run it up,
That's
run
right.
it up.
It's a fun bop. I want to talk about your decision, and it's similar to what you were just talking about. I'm sure
Mhm,
to bring advocacy to the mainstream
mhm.
on a dance beat. I
Hey.
think it was bold. I think it was outstanding. I think it was amazing. How do you like when you make these choices in the studio? Like what how do you I think it was what's going through your mind when you do this when you go, you know what, I'm gonna take this dance beat and I'm gonna put lyrics to it that are advocating for my needs. I'm telling people, get out the way, like literally.
Well, I gotta say, one of the things I love to do is I'm clomping down the street, right? Because
Right,
it's the heels, right? So you can
right.
hear me coming. And then when you turn around, you see the canes. It's like a truck, speeding at you. And so you just dive into the street. And I'm like, bye. You know? So when we sing about our experiences,
Yeah.
that's when you get the best music. And I mean, that's just my
Yeah.
experience. And
Yeah.
this is why I love, when people really lean into like that little thing inside them that society tells you to hide, right? Or that
Mm,
society tells you is wrong or
mm,
whatever. When you create art about those things, that is the art that connects with people the most because they are also hiding it and they've been waiting for you to tell them and give them the permission to feel it. And so
right.
that's pretty much what I'm doing. And for so long, like as a kid, I felt like I'm not able to talk about this, or this isn't a
Mm,
thing, or I need to suppress. And so, actually, one of the things that I'm actually working on right now is a sort of a kids friendly bop esque
mm,
album, right? So, a full album with
right.
bops
Right.
discussing, centering, and celebrating disability, neurodivergence, and embracing those things. It's coming out in July. We're going to be putting out a single called Fidget in May.
Mm,
and a single called Moves in June, and then the full album called Magnificent in July.
I love
And
that.
we're really, really excited. Every single song on the album is going to be a bop, empowering about disability, about neurodivergence, about all of the things, because I feel like, kids need to start hearing these things from a young age. So that's
Right.
why I want it to be clean, kid friendly, etc.
Right. Right.
But two, kids need, their parents need to start being able to talk about this stuff with their kids. Like
Yeah.
when I was really young, my mom had this CD about Australia that she would play for me, and it was about dingoes and kangaroos and stuff like that,
Mm.
and koalas. And I was just singing about koalas. I was 4, 5, 3, whatever, singing about koalas and dingoes, and my parents were singing it with me. I'd sing it at school, and I'm like, well, imagine if that were bops about disability. Then I could sing that with
Wow.
my parents. Then I could sing that at school. And so, and I also wanted to make sure that these were like really, really great candy flavored bops that you could
Yeah.
not get out of your earworms, so that
I
folks
love
could
it.
just learn without even know it. And so that's
Mm.
where we're at. That's where we're at.
Mm. Well, audience, we've taken it from today to back in the day. We sped it back up to today. Now we've ended in the future. So
Yes, girl.
you're just listen. It's always a pleasure to have you. Always, always, always come back anytime you're doing something new. Let us know. We're
Absolutely.
beyond happy to help you promo. Before we let you go, please let the people know where they can find you, your socials and such.
Absolutely. You can find me at Lachi Music. That is LACHIMUSIC. I am on all of the socials, Instagram, YouTube, wherever you find humans. My website is lachimusic.com. That's where you can find the most up-to-date dates, show dates, cool projects we're doing, et cetera, et cetera. If you are interested in partnering or joining up with Ramped, if that touched you in any way, we're over at rampd.org. We hook up with corporations, but we also welcome members who are in the music industry. And really just find me. Oh, and by the way, when you get that book, which you are going to do, be sure to leave a review.
Ah, yes, so important. So very important. And a note to all of my totally blind friends out there, voiceover mispronounces Lachi as Lachi. And sometimes because I hear it so much, I do the same thing. Her name is pronounced Lachi like Versace. Don't
Like
forget
Versace, girl. Don't you forget
it. As always, thank you to our listeners for joining us for another month. And we'll be here next month. And you know, I think I'll just keep it a surprise who we have on. I like surprises. I like to surprise the people. We know you've enjoyed this episode, so go ahead and share it with a friend. This has been another episode of Scene Change.
I'm Caitlin McIntyre, President of the National Federation of the Blind Performing Arts Division. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Scene Change. If you like what you heard, be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and visit our website at nfb-pad.org. There you'll find links to our social media, membership, and resources for blind performers. Thanks to everyone who makes this show happen. Scene Change is executive produced by Shane Lowe, Caitlin McIntyre, and Lizzie Muhammad Park, with audio production by Drew Mochak. Also on the team are Maddie Hendricks, Aaron Jordan, and Melissa Sprouse, with music by Ryan Strunk and Tom Page. Remember, you can be the performer you want. Blindness is not what holds you back. We'll see you next time.
All right, we're going to go farther back in time. I need a time machine noise. Drew, we need a time machine noise.